Good morning, y'all. It's Cody's Bait and Tackle, Warsaw, Missouri. Got a little bit I want to talk to you guys about. Going to give you a quick fishing report here. I've been fishing all week, hybrids. Been running 2 trips a day. Fishing's been really good. Fish are spookish, water's clear. Same as I said last week. Everybody's struggling getting bait. Got some good fishermen that normally have no problem getting bait. They're talking like they're struggling. A couple guys yesterday, they're right after, well, they was throwing for bait. I passed them, caught bait real quick, passed back by them. They still didn't have bait. I told them, I said, this water's so clear, you guys are trying to run that live scope and catch your bait with it in this deeper water. I said, you can't do it. You have to catch them shad that are shallow so you can pin them down to the bottom. I'm catching a lot of my bait in shallower water where I can actually visually see the schools of bait. A lot of this bait is still outrunning my net. I'm watching it. The water's so clear you can watch that bait just go right out from underneath it. And that's what they're seeing with the live scope too. As soon as that net hits the water, that bait's gone. So them ones that are really shallow that you can see the school on top, those are the ones you stand the best chance of catching right now. Or like I said, that shallower water where you can pin them down to the bottom. They don't have time to get out from underneath the net before your net hits them. Those are the easiest baits to catch right now. You can get a heavier net. You got a little bit better chance of catching them. Jeff Falkenberry, he come in the shop yesterday, grab a heavier net than what he had. A little bit, something that'd sink a little bit faster. I throw a 1/2-inch mesh net year round. No reason to throw anything bigger or heavier. I throw a pound per foot. That's what he bought. I asked him what the crappie fishing was doing. His crappie report was out of the Long Shoal area. He was catching all his crappie right up the channel ledges. Just said there's just little pods of crappie roaming all around the edges of the channel, around the trees and stuff like that. So he said he was fishing some 25, 30 foot of water, stuff like that, and said there'd just be little schools of them all over. I've watched people this week on the main lake fishing some of them shallower brush piles on some of the mud flats. They're catching them pretty good. Looks like a lot of short crappie, but they're catching some keepers too. A few guys fishing around the timber, you know, over around Starrett Creek's been getting fished pretty hard. The cemetery area over on Little Tebow, that's been getting hit pretty hard. A lot of fish coming out over there. For everybody just wanting to catch fish this weekend, if you don't have good electronics, you don't really know what you're doing, your best bet right now is just buy a bunch of crankbaits, flicker shad, wiggle warts, bandit 300s, bombers, anything that's going to dive. I would say 8 to 14, 15 foot right now is going to catch crappie. It's going to catch crappie, white bass. You're going to catch all kinds of fish. You can, one of the coves that I used to pull crankbaits in all the time, Mike Baker just done a video on. He was in that cove, caught limits crappie in there. You know, any of them bigger coves right now, it's got some scattered out bait in them, is loaded with crappie. They're scattered out. Trolling them crankbaits will catch them. And I haven't heard any colors that are doing better than any others right now on that. I'm selling a little bit of everything color-wise right now. A lot of the white, silvers, light purples, light pinks, hot pink. When it gets hot, that bright pink's one of the best colors out there to pull. Crappie, white bass, drum, catfish, everything will hit it. Everything. That's about all I've got on the crappie, you know. I've caught quite a few crappie this week, just hybrid fishing scattered out in the lake. on some of them flats and humps, you know, catching them on them smaller shad. So them crappie right now will eat that big bait. Everybody coming in the shop wanting jigs, they're wanting small stuff, a lot of people, because that's what they're seeing on the internet, them little bitty hair jigs and stuff. You don't have to use that stuff right now to catch bait. The shad most of them are eating right now are big shad. You clean them crappie, they get a lot of them 2, 3, 3.5 inch shad in them. One of the other guides, he was using some great big plastics. I had a guy come in the shop. He just fished with one of the other guides. He was wanting some 3-inch like beaver tail baits, which I don't even know who makes a 3-inch beaver tail. I got some that are like 2 1/4 or something like that. That's the biggest I've got. So there's just a lot of different bait makers out there now. I don't quite know which one that was, but there should be some really small shad hatch out there right now. I haven't seen very many yet, but I do know most of the shad I'm catching now are spawned out. There's still a few holding eggs, but most of them have already spawned. As far as hybrids, last weekend there was a lot of hybrids caught trolling. This week I have not seen any. And fish have got a little bit more spookish. The schools have got busted up. I did see a couple caught on swim baits. Live shad's still been the best bite. I seen some guys running bluegill. They caught 1 or 2 this week. Didn't see them turn them up any at all. If you're not finding fish, or you think you're finding fish, you can't get them to bite, just leave them. Go find some other fish, try them. Some schools are active right now, some schools aren't. What I'm seeing, you'll find some fish that are active for a while, and then they'll fall out in deeper water and move down deep. There's no thermocline really at all on Truman yet, which is kind of odd for this time of year. Once they move down deep, them fish are not feeding hardly at all. I can't catch them if they're in over 25, 30 foot of water right now. I'm catching a lot of them around that 18 to 25 foot mark. Seems like if they drop down lower than that, they're just not active fish. Catfish, they are starting to load up really, really good on some of these main lake flats. Yesterday I fished some different areas. I didn't catch as many catfish. I had a lot of bigger catfish. I had 2 overs just while I was hybrid fishing, 5 or 6 slot fish, a bunch of good eaters. The day before, the flat I fished, it had some hybrids on it, but you was catching 5 or 6 blue cat to every one hybrid. Just running live shad, flipping them out on the bottom, or suspending them, letting them swim around on top. Didn't matter, catfish was eating them. Most of them was in, from the surface to about 20 foot of water. They was all over the water column. So right now, drifting your jugs would probably be really good. Running some planer boards would probably work. 2 days ago, it would have been Tuesday, we caught over 100 blue cat that day, just while we was hybrid fishing. I mean, that was on one mud flat. There was that many catfish on it. They're really starting to pile in good. I think maybe we're fixing to set up that thermocline, because I was seeing a ton of them scattered out in that deeper water, and I'm not seeing as many of them now. So maybe that water warming up enough is going to settle them at one depth more so than what they was last week. As far as on Lake of the Ozarks, I think Chad Short's still been just suspend drifting, doing really good. Talked to some guys that was dragging baits further down. They did real good this last week. They was fishing a little bit shallower water. They was 14, 15 foot of water was where they said they found the best bite at. I've heard of some guys drifting shallower, catching some. One buddy of mine, he just tied up to some trees up there on Truman, about 20, 25 foot of water. He had almost 2 limits of blues last weekend. So they're biting real good. Crappie are biting real good. Hybrids are real good. White bass, if you can find them, they're on fire. Like I said, I'm running live bait on them. I watched a lot of guys try to lure fish them this week. They wasn't doing that good. But small bluegill, extra large shiners, you can do the same thing I'm doing with shad if you can't keep shad alive. I am going to try to get some extra large shiners in Friday. They probably won't last, but Friday and Saturday. The last ones I had, they went pretty quick. So that was a lot of guys trying to live bait fish and walleye. So last weekend, there were some limits of walleye come out. Them guys was all fishing 6 to 12 foot of water, pulling night crawler harnesses. I did hear of a couple coming off crankbaits. Not very many yet, but them guys, the guys that are walleye fishing right now, them guys are mainly using the night crawler rigs. Basically just probably 0.5 to 0.7 mile an hour, real slow, just basically pulling yourself along on some of them shallower mud flats with the trolling motor. Got something else I want to talk to you guys about. This is something pretty important. I'll do a video later on my fireworks display. I'll just put it on my Facebook page if you guys want to tune into that. I have got some more sponsors on that. Some other businesses from out of town. Don't have too many from the Warsaw area donating, but I've got quite a few from out of town donating, so that's a plus. You know, there's some really good people left out there. They like seeing what we're doing there at the bait shop, you know. They want to help out, so that's awesome. I want to thank all you guys that have donated, all the businesses that have donated. Now, the main thing I wanted to talk to you guys about this morning, the Kids Need to Fish event. That is not this coming weekend, that is next weekend. Any kids that want to come, if you've got nieces, nephews, your neighbor's kids that don't get a chance to fish, that might want to, your cousin's kids, whoever kids you can bring. This will be held down below the dam, East Bloodsoe Ferry. I think it starts at 8 or 9 in the morning, something like that. They give away, it's Kids Need to Fish. Mike Reynolds, me and Mike Reynolds started this a long time ago. He has, I got so busy I couldn't keep up with it real fast. Mike Reynolds has ran this the last several years with some really good helpers. He did completely hand it off to Nicole and Corey Richmond. They are the ones running it now. This year, they've got enough rod and reels and tackle boxes for a ton of kids. Any kids that show up are going to get a tackle box, a free rod and reel, no cost. All you got to do is bring them. These kids will get to fish, have fun. There will be prizes given away. There will be all kinds of stuff. There's actually guide trips given away to these kids. It's pretty fun. I mean, the kids all have a blast. Parents have fun watching the kids, helping the kids. There'll be a lot of really good helpers there, help you guys out if you don't really know what you're doing. All you got to do is show up. If you guys need any more information about this, it's a Kids Need to Fish event. They do have a new Facebook page. I can't remember right now what it was, but there's still some updates on the Warsaw River Rats page. You can get a hold of Mike Reynolds or Nicole and Corey Richmond on this. Mike did hand it off, but he's still helping out quite a bit. So, like I said, if you guys can make it, that is next weekend. I think it's June 2nd. I should have checked on that, but it is next Saturday is when it is. That's something a lot of people in the Warsaw area really take serious. I've seen some money being raised for kids events outside of the area. That's a good thing, but we got kids right here that need the help too. My daughter, my oldest girl, we donated a bunch of rods to school this year to the Warsaw School District, because last year they've got a fishing pond there at our school in Warsaw. Over half the kids in her class had never fished before. When their PE coach, I think it was a PE coach, took them down there and let them fish, she had to help them all out. None of them even knew how to tie hooks, how to cast fishing poles, how to wind fishing poles, any of that. Our oldest girl had to show them because they didn't know how. So get these kids out there, get them started in the outdoors, keep them out of trouble. You get them started in fishing. If they like it, fishing and hunting's going to take every bit of their money. Then they ain't got money to get in trouble. So they'll stay in the outdoors instead of getting into stuff they shouldn't be into. So that means a lot to us guys that work in the outdoor industry. That's really about all I've got. I wanted to talk about that today. That's only a week away, week and a half away. Really important event. That's about all I've got for you guys. I got my boy over here with me today. He might want to be on here for a second. He's sitting over here being quiet as can be. That's John. He's my little helping buddy. He's going with me this morning to help me get bait for the bait shop. That's all I've got for you guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good one, y'all.